Professor Ashok Chawla, Advisor Japan, MEA, Professor Shahidul Haq, Bangabandhu Chairperson, Delhi University, Mr. Swadesh Roy, Journalist, Bangladesh, and to chair this entire session, I would like to request our Chair, His Excellency Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia, Honorable Member Governing Council, Asian Confluence. Now, may I request our Chair, sir, His Excellency Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia, sir, to facilitate our honorable panelists on the dais with Uttariya. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our honorable panelists on the dais with big round of applause. Thank you so much, sir. Now, may I request Mr. Machida Tatsuyu, DCM of Japan, Bangladesh, to felicitate our Sir Chair, His Excellency Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia, also Honorable Member Governing Council, Asian Confluence. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to request our Honorable Ambassador, Shri Rajiv Bhatia, sir, for the further proceedings.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to see that the hall is still full. So that means all the hard work that ASCON has put in is really paying off, and the audience still wants more. And I'm very happy that we have a stellar panel to give you that extra that will keep you moving on the road when you eventually return home. The plan is quite simple. We have really domain experts, people who have contributed in their own fashion to building up this whole idea of relationships in this region. And I'm going to request each of them to come one by one, either from the chair where they are sitting or from the microphone over there on my left, and address you for 5-6 minutes. And then we will come to you with a few questions that you may have still for the experts. By way of opening remarks to set and frame this particular debate in the last session, let me share with you just 3 or 4 points which emerge from my decade-long study of this region, my involvement with ASCON, which goes back to 11 or 12 years now, and all that was built up on my experience as India's ambassador to Myanmar for 3 years, and before that, if I may mention rather immodestly, I was the head of the division in Ministry of External Affairs, handling 4 important neighboring countries: Myanmar, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Maldives. So with that experience and continuing study of the region, and I'm particularly happy that after years of effort, we were able to bring ASCON show to Tripura. This is one of the last frontiers. Our whole aim was to go to each sister and also brother, 7+1. So we are very happy that we came to Tripura because it is really historic in the development of ASCON. So my 4 points, and I'm going to be really very frank, I'm not talking now at all as a diplomat, but I'm talking as a long-term observer of this region. And we all have heard what the government representatives have said between yesterday and today. My first point is that past 2 days show very clearly that the Bay of Bengal community is beginning to take shape. What is this Bay of Bengal community, or BBOC as I would put it? It has 2 components according to me. One is the inner circle, and that inner circle has 3 sections. Number 1, Northeast. Number 2, Bangladesh. And number 3, West Bengal. I think this is the inner circle. These are the segments located right there. And without this inner circle, there is going to be no Bay of Bengal community. Then there is the outer circle. Yesterday and today there has been a reference to that when we talk about Nepal and Bhutan. But there are 3 other countries which we must bring into this calculus, and they are Myanmar, Thailand and Sri Lanka. I think we cannot forget the southern section of the Bay of Bengal, and therefore while very understandably today in Agartala the focus is on the inner circle, but in our mind space we need to keep in view the outer circle as well. Then I think the second point which came out very boldly and clearly, and I have to give the credit to this to Japanese ambassador, who with his own very rich background of having worked with Prime Minister Abe as secretary, as he put it, personal secretary on diplomacy, he brought out a very major point which has really struck us all. And that point is that connectivity is only a means, that by itself it is not enough. We need to ask as to what is the end. And the end obviously relates to the 3 sectors of economy that we know, namely agriculture, industry and services. This whole thing about value chains, this is a new terminology, but fundamentally we are talking about agriculture, industry and services. And of these 3 also we are talking primarily here of industry, because that's why even the previous chair was talking about industrial value chains. So I want to raise this question for the panelists in particular. Are we going to live in the 19th or 20th century by talking only of agriculture and horticulture? Or are we going to talk about some of the newer concepts of industrial products, which can be, the production could be based in the Northeast? And some have been mentioned, but I would really request them to pinpoint some of the sectors. Are these IT hardware or mobile telephones or electronic components or maybe assembly of small auto vehicles? We have to remember that the people of this region are highly educated, trained, skilled, and they are showing their skills by going out of Northeast. What is there for us to hold them back here? And therefore, those sectors will need the investment not only from Japan, but from other international partners as well. My third point, when we lay our expectations out from Japan, from Bangladesh, and from India, the corporate India, we also need to spell out what are the incentives for these stakeholders. We cannot keep talking only about the local stakeholders. If we are trying to attract, draw Japan and Bangladesh into the inner circle here, what are the incentives we are offering? Clearly, incentives for Japan is friendship, political influence, market. That's how you saw, particularly in the other session, there was really very granular discussion at the corporate level. What are the incentives for Bangladesh? Yesterday, it came out from those 6 recommendations that Minister Shahriar Alam spelled out. And typically, because we have only speeches at that inaugural session, interactions don't follow. But I think it is our job to bring some of those things out. To my mind, 2 things were very important when he talked about the need for reciprocity for Bangladesh. If Bangladesh is making its territory available for transit, which we are now almost accepting as a natural fact, let me remind you, 15 years, 20 years back, when we used to handle the Bangladesh file in our own time in the MEA, these things were completely untouchable. There was no question of Bangladesh offering anything by way of transit or by way of connectivity. Bangladesh has changed, but they are now asking for reciprocity. Is India ready to offer some of the facilities so that Bangladesh gets better connected to Bhutan and Nepal? And if something is holding us back, what are the problems? Similarly, I think Bangladesh is showing very clearly interest in getting connected to the trilateral highway, which will eventually connect India, Myanmar, Thailand. This is also seems a very reasonable thing. We would like to hear from panelists whether that is of any interest to them. And I think there is one more somewhat discussable idea. If we are talking about the inner circle of Bay of Bengal community, then the question is, naturally India and Japan will have their own channel of communication. We have ACT East Forum. I'm sure there is a similar channel between Japan and Bangladesh. But can we now truly think of a trilateral communication forum? Can we think of either a new mechanism, or can we think of Bangladesh as an occasional observer or guest at the ACT East Forum, It's something that we need to think. We have to get out of traditional thinking at this stage. I think this is very important. There are other ideas, but I will not go into them to preempt my panelists. My last point is, dear friends, the kernel of Bay of Bengal community is an institution which I am afraid has not been discussed extensively either yesterday or today, and that is called BIMSTEC. By all means, ideas, discussions, push that will come from efforts such as these. This is the whole purpose, where without the barrier of protocol and institutional and national pressures, we can come up with ideas. But we have an institution of the countries of this region, and therefore I would like to put it to our panelists whether they think that BIMSTEC is only there to be prayed and worshipped and then forgotten, or BIMSTEC is the institutional instrument that will push forward these ideas in addition to our bilateral and our trilateral efforts. That is the backdrop. Of course, that doesn't mean that panelists are bound by it. They are welcome to comment on it. I'll be very happy if they reacted to it. An audience will do the same as well. So at this stage, let me follow very strictly the sequence which has been given to me. And I now once again request panelists, so please take 5 to 6 minutes, not more, because we are running on a very prescribed timetable. And at this stage, I invite Mr. Tatsuya, DCM of Japan in Bangladesh, to please take the floor and lay out his views. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I thank you also for the Asian conference, and you have invited me to be here. This is so timely to be here because that this is just several weeks after our Prime Minister Kishida has launched the new plan of the FOIP in New Delhi. And yesterday, we have also officially announced that Honorable Prime Minister Hashina is going to visit in Japan end of this month. If it is come to the connectivity of Japan-India relationship and Japan-Bangladesh relationship, I think this meeting is very much of the one. So I appreciate very much. We are going to also reflect today's discussion for the upcoming the summit meeting in Tokyo. And also that coincidentally that we are also having the very first meeting of joint study for Japan-Bangladesh EPA. So things are actually happening in a parallel manner, and I'm very delighted that we witness many things are happening in this period of time. As for the discussion throughout this the meeting, I'm very encouraged that the Indian participants are very much committed for the mutual development together with Bangladesh side. This was more than what I have expected in my sense in Dhaka. The people might also consider that how far India is going to work together. And I'm very confident that is going to be the case. Another question is about that we have discussed quite much about the notion of transit and also industrial value chain. I think I cannot say maybe that 100% this is outdated concern, but I think this type of meeting facilitate that mitigating the sentiment. That was also the case in ASEAN. I still remember that the Professor Hack also mentioned about the difference here and ASEAN. This was started from the internal so to say, regional activities. But I can only point out that both ASEAN or even the EU has started with a sense of danger. The Professor Hack knows very well ASEAN has started that because they are very much afraid that communist erosion is going to come to their place. So I think there is a need for a certain sense of danger, of the sense of urgency, and for that purpose, Matabari Deep Sea Port offers a good opportunity because we have still 4 years, but we have only 4 years ahead. So how we are going to connect northeast region to Matabari is a very, very important term to discuss at this moment of time. Otherwise, we are going to miss the train. We shouldn't do it. I thank you for that. You have also mentioned about BIMSTEC. I'm not particularly in a position to comment, but I do only point out the 2 facts. One is that BIMSTEC is now trying to create observer status. Secondly, Bangladesh is going to be the chair of BIMSTEC next year. So it might happen something, maybe in course of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are very kind and cooperative, and you made some very interesting points. May I now request Mr. Edimon Gintik, Country Director, ADB in Bangladesh, to take the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm really delighted to be here. And let me first thank His Excellency Ambassador of Japan for inviting me to this event, and also of Ministry of Economic Affairs of India, State Government of Tripura, and colleague from High Commissioner here of Bangladesh in Tripura, as well as Asian Confluence. I'm economist by training, and I'm ASEAN citizen, so I'm already benefiting from, I'm a convinced believer of regional cooperation. So my point is going to be reflecting this background. I think my first point is going to be about one of the issues raised by Joint Secretary yesterday. Joint Secretary Summit said on complexity. Regional cooperation is always complex, right? I think therefore, my first recommendation on way forward is going to be continue the conversation positively. Yeah, I think conversation is a very important point. Why? 2 things. It's good to discuss the benefit, and it's also good to discuss the fear. It's not actually always trust issue. It is the fear of opening. Yeah. So for Bangladesh, I think it was discussed why it's important for Bangladesh. Bangladesh is planning to be a upper middle income country by 2031. ADB did a study called Asian Journey to Prosperity. Of all the countries that pass upper middle income country, 2 engines of growth is very important. In economics, we have 4 engines of growth. One is consumption of our people. Second is government spending. Third is investment. And fourth is export. The bigger, as the country grow higher to upper middle income country, the role of export diversification, as you said, and investment become very important. Now the question is this initiative good for these 2? The answer is certainly yes. Industrial conglomeration is important for this? The answer is yes. Diversification is going to be produced by this? The answer is yes. So the why need to be, the narrative of why need to be answered very clearly in the context of the country's priorities. So if it is in line fully with the country's national interests, it will fly, despite some of the challenge. Second, the fear of opening is there in every country, right? Some of them may, based on experience. There was positive history, there's negative history, and so on. But these 2 can be overcome sometime by positive dialogue on the benefit. But at the same time, to my second point, how to address some of this fear of opening. It is gold is in the detail. In addressing some complex issues, the golden goose, the gold is in the detail, right? I think learning from ASEAN, some countries are fear is opening because their domestic connectivity is no good. So the second point that was discussed yesterday was connectivity. So addressing connectivity, improving the infrastructure is key in terms of addressing some of this fear of opening. If your domestic connectivity is good, then you will be more confident to open. Right? I think in this context, I think looking at the gap on connectivity is key. I think JICA colleague, I think Ichiguchi-san was mentioning about all of these projects there that are supported by JICA, and IDB is also in the same space. And that here also, it is good to understand in terms of this connectivity, the benefit of deep sea port. I give the example of ASEAN again. Yeah, where is the biggest deep sea port in ASEAN? It is in Singapore. How was the Singapore benefit from the deep sea port? Immensely. So, in this context also, Bangladesh could benefit immensely from this deep sea port, just like Singapore in ASEAN. So Bangladesh will be Singapore of northeastern part of the region. So this is how we should see it. Yeah. So development of this connectivity infrastructure will bring confidence and reduce the fear of openness because the benefit is there. But at the end of the day, benefits opening is for every country. It's not only for one country. All are benefiting. The sum of the part, the sum will be greater than the part when it comes to regional cooperations. That needs to be remembered in terms of many of this dialogue. Another important detail, I guess, is the soft infrastructure. I think it was discussed before. I think the logistic is not only about infrastructure. There are many soft elements in logistic, and logistic cost in country like Bangladesh is still very high. Waiting time for the ship is very high, very long, for example. Custom time is still very not modernized. So some of these soft infrastructure also need to be addressed. Yeah, I think I will go through some of these things later in terms of how ADB work together with the government in addressing some of this, both hard and soft infrastructure. Yeah? And my third point is what I call the fourth win. I think Excellency Ambassador of Japan was saying the three win. Japan will win, India will win, Bangladesh will win. But as we discussed today, the fourth win has to be people. Yeah? At the end of the day, it's about people. And then, of course, second layers of win are actually all business. Business from India, business from Bangladesh, business from Japan. But the third layers of winner are supposed to be people. How do we bring people to be the winner here? In ASEAN, as an example, in regional cooperation discussions, it's not only about big business. It's also about SME. There is SME Forum of ASEAN, for example. That is where people are mostly employed. So therefore, there should be part of those equation in terms of discussion. SME should be part of it, and therefore, the benefit to people will be much more clear. And then, behind this win, behind the four win, there is another important thing, which is the quick win. The quick win. What are the quick win? I think the State Foreign Secretary yesterday already mentioned a few quick win. BBIN, only a few miles from finishing line. That is a quick win. Having the quick win often very good in reinforcing a good idea. We think that regional cooperation is a good idea. Having a quick win will reinforce the idea. That is one thing. I think it was also discussed about energy. Yeah? The study of ADB also said energy demand of country once they move up to the development ladder is growing more than exponentially. So the region will need all sources of energy, not only solar. All of the hydro may not be even enough. So it is good to think that in these collaborations, we need it all. Not only because this country have this country have that, so this is being prioritized. All need to be there, in my view, complementing each other in terms of energy. Korean energy consumption per capita when they were at Bangladesh level of development, maybe around 500 kilowatt, right? But once they become developed country, it is 11,000 kilowatt. So the need are huge. So collaboration is there in meeting the need is very important. In closing, let me also mention how ADB can help in this area. I think number one, as Ichiguchi-san was saying, we're complementing each other in terms of supporting the connectivity. Yeah? We are working on National Highway 2, Dhaka-Sylhet. I think I came here 4 hours, 200 kilometers. I think we can go faster. So I think we are working on that one. I think we also completing the Akhaura-Laksam rail line, double track, double line. That also help with the connectivity. So we are actually addressing some of the detail of the gap. And we are also connecting Cox's Bazar and Chittagong rail line, and that could be also connected to Matobari. And of course, at the end of the day, we need to facilitate freight transit. We're also working on the freight depot, and most importantly, I think we are working also helping the government on the soft infrastructure. As I said earlier, investment is very important, and Jaka colleague from Japan also saying investment is very important. And we're also working with the government in terms of benchmarking their investment regulation with Vietnam, with Indonesia, in collaborations with OECD. Because OECD is reviewing investment climate in all of this region, investment regulations, and we want to see Bangladesh also on par in terms of investment with many of these countries, and therefore they'll be the biggest beneficiary in terms of this regional cooperation down the line and to be part of this global value chains. I think I take a bit more time. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You made some really very interesting points, and I think it was said yesterday very correctly that connectivity does have three dimensions. Northeast connecting with the rest of India, Northeast connecting with itself, and Northeast with external connectivity. I think there has to be some kind of a synchronization, some kind of a harmony. Otherwise, it would all look very odd. And I'm very happy to share with those of you who did not come from Delhi yesterday, on this Indigo flight, about 45 people boarded the plane to come straight to Agartala, and we were here in 2.5 hours. And those of us who were coming here for the first time didn't realize it was so easy to reach Agartala just like that. This is, I'm sure, a fairly recent phenomenon, and this is what I meant when I said synchronization. Thank you very much. May I now invite Shri K. Moses Chalai, Northeastern Council Secretary, to please address us. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I think like the rest of everyone seated in this hall, I'm also here by choice and conviction. I could have skipped this meeting, but I came here by choice with conviction that what we are looking is going to be a game changer for the area of Bay of Bengal. Of course, the country that we're looking is, we've been hearing over and over again, is the Bangladesh, the India, particularly the northeastern region part of the country, and of course with Japan coming very, very closely in this initiative. In fact, the Big B and this Matabari thing, I knew about it, something about, but it came about in a very brief discussion I had with Japanese embassy friends, Orita, and then I and Marie one day in Delhi. In fact, I fully agree with Ambassador Suzuki saying yesterday that, I agree and believe that this can become what Mekong Zone had become. Very, very much in agreement with that. And one thing is that the Northeast, even after 75 years, is still suffering a shock that came in 1947. The abrupt disruption and cutoff from the rest of the country I'm from the normal way of going about with life, commerce, business, connectivity were suddenly removed. And the shock is so heavy for Northeast that it is still felt today. And suffering and penalized every single day since the last 75 years. This is something we need to all realize and appreciate. Therefore, many of the things that happens in the other parts of the country can never be competitive from this part of the region. However, steps like this to overcome, remove, and facilitate that those connectivity, those relationship, those movements, those commerce is the need of the hour, and we all need to really open it up, and that's what we are here for. Northeast, as I love to say, is after 75 years, we found that we're in the immediate neighborhood, not even neighborhood, immediate neighborhood of some of the fastest growing economies of the world. China, Tibet on the north, the east, the ASEAN countries, and Bangladesh, which is also picking up very, very fast. And so we are in an island which sometimes we are confused. And now the neighborhood is now, affectionately and happily joined by Japan. So we are going to be caught in this neighborhood. Now, so what do we do? Therefore, now I see that the look east and act east is now going to be by south. Because I'm from Manipur, and the physical, that surface transport through Myanmar is going to have a lot of challenges in foreseeable future, both physically, stability of the region, and many other issues. Therefore, now to go east and act east is by south, through Tripura, Sabrum, and the Matabari, the deep sea port that's going to come up. We have to grab this with both hands. Not only with hand, if I can use my legs, I will also cut them with my legs also. Okay. And also in the Northeast, the tremendous connectivity is happening in the last 9, 10, 15 years. Tremendous change. And at this pace, our connectivity will be very good. Its infrastructure development at all levels is very high. But I would sometimes say that at the end of the day, I can't eat road, I can't eat bridges, I can't eat buildings. I have to eat something else. And therefore, that economic development of the region of Northeast is not commensurate with what infrastructural development is taking place. Huge preparation is required for to take forward the big B or the Bay of Bengal, that economy that we are looking at. NSC is positioned very well, Northeastern Council. This council is very high profile body with the 8 governors, 8 chief ministers of the region as members of the council who come together at least once in a year and express their common challenges, common aspirations, common needs. And this is shared by the Union Home Minister, and by the virtue of his stature, status, and being the chairman, it's become a very, very high profile body of the region. The only territorial body of India is that Northeastern Council, and donor, Ministry of Donor. We are under the Ministry of Donor, so in that sense. So the council can be taken great advantage to take forward this initiative. We will flag this perhaps in the next council meeting, and then once all the chief ministers, governors, and with the, of course, chairman of Home Minister, Union Home Minister, if they take it forward, then it goes to it goes to a different level, And we also see that the chairman of the council, he puts some big agenda, and then he don't lose sight. He really push. So I hope it's something which it needs to scale up to that very high political level, and that can really bring something into position. One thing is that, and also the council can help. We, NSC in Shillong, can help and along with Ministry of Donor, facilitate and also make aware of the states of what's there, what is before us. A lot of homework needs to be done, because after all this of our wonderful discussions, yet it may not sink in into those people who need to understand this. So a lot of homework is needed, and we are willing to do that, and I'm sure that we can effectively do that. I also believe that, as one of the speakers said, I think it was the Joint Secretary, the technology is one area that we really need to catch on. I believe that technology is going to make all the difference. It's a whole lot of things. One of our participants was reading out what ChatGPT would say what this Confluence should do. And it was given all answers. Technology is really leapfrogging. And with the technology coming, a lot of things I'm sure it can happen. However, there are a lot of challenges. In fact, recently, under the guidance of Ministry of Donor, we have set up one interministerial committee chaired by Secretary NSC by me, which includes MEA, MHA, Ministry of Finance, Agriculture, Land Port Authority, Commerce, FSI, Donor, MOD, Aviation. All of us come together in Delhi. We have set 2 meetings about this foreign trade. And when we get down with all the the commerce chambers and everyone put together, we realize that there are almost very, very long list of challenges. So we may have wonderful discussion at this level, but when it is rolled out on the ground, the procedures, the challenges are a very different story. But I'm sure that this can be sorted out. It's doable. And we, my colleague Ms. Sherry is also here. We are on the job, and now we have given KPIs, key performance indicators, to be attended to be worked on by all these ministries which I managed. We don't know how long it's going to take. We're going to have our meeting very soon, maybe this month or next meeting. And unless we sort out all these details on the ground, just for want of a nail, the battle and the war can be lost. But we have to do that, and we are ready to do that. And if we all put together with the blessings of political leadership, I'm sure that many of things will be sorted out, and then this will be. Yeah, sir, I think almost.
You can take another half a minute and conclude. Yeah.
So yeah, we will smooth out, and so a lot of things need to be ironed out and smoothed out. And of course, when we talk to different business chambers, both sides say reciprocity. Bangladesh side will say, India side also has got a lot to say, and I think we need to hear each other out. It is the best of time. We have the right political leadership and their desire and the drive and the lead. The infrastructure is happening in a big way. We are getting willing. Things are falling into place. We all are here. And with this, I'm sure that the economic value chain that we have been talking since yesterday, it's not very far away. And it's doable, and it can happen. And I firmly believe this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chalai. That's a very reassuring approach you have manifested. All of us who are from Northeast or watch Northeast know the pivotal importance of NEC. I'm very happy that ESCON had the chance to welcome you and host you here. There is no doubt that in terms of intergovernmental coordination and in terms of representation of 7 sisters, 1 brother, central government, it has tremendous importance. I would just make the suggestion that perhaps there is a need to step up a little bit the outreach and the public profile of NEC. And certainly a body like ESCON is there to assist you, but there would be other institutions as well. And therefore, perhaps in each state if similar outreach events could be mounted, NEC's profile would further go up in a very significant manner. Thank you very much. We now request Professor Ashok Chawla, Advisor on Japan in the Ministry of External Affairs, to please deliver his remarks. Ashok.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Let me start with briefly on India-Japan relations. India-Japan relations date back to Japan's exposure to Buddhism, and in fact, maybe much older. It evolved continuously, slowly, and probably steadily, with pace variation in between. For the easy understanding, I usually break this duration into stages or into phases. First phase is long, starting from the well-known eye-opening ceremony at Todaiji Temple in Nara, then by Bodhisena, believed to be a priest from South India, Gion festival, as well as the trade linkages in the form of hoko, that is the rath, and silk, with relatively recent happenings of the late 19th and 20th century, such as Rabindranath Tagore, Okakura Tenshin chemistry, actions of Ras Bihari Bose and Subhash Chandra Bose in terms of INA, the stance taken by Justice Radha Binod Pal at Tokyo Tribunal, and India's decision not to participate in San Francisco Treaty, followed by establishment of diplomatic relations in 1952, which set the stage for our political cooperation or political relationship. Second phase relates more to economic cooperation, export of cotton to Japan that had its contribution in yarn and textile development or revolution in Japan, and export of iron ore, one that contributed in terms of supply chain in steel manufacturing in Japan. This period also brought Japanese trading houses and banks to India. There were few successful as well as not so successful ventures till around 1970s. I think the similar story probably would be true for Bangladesh, Japan also. Now, period between 1980s and 2000 can be called the third phase, which saw shining examples of India-Japan cooperation, such as Maruti Suzuki, Delhi Metro, the auto industry or auto revolution in India, and the fourth phase that started with former PM, Prime Minister Modi's visit to India in 2000, which provided different platforms to strengthen the cooperation in different domains. And the relationship evolved from global in 2000 to strategic and global, and finally to special, strategic and global partnership in 2014. Each adjective, global, strategic and special, has its significance, and the last one, special, truly means special. Bilaterally, we have been enhancing our defense cooperation. We have mechanisms such as 2+2 foreign minister and defense ministerial dialogues, reciprocal provision of supplies and services, also known as EXA, interoperability and joint exercises. Our economic cooperation from third phase onward started creating long-lasting foundation through systems such as 5S, Gemba Kaizen, TPM and TQM, and it has expanded substantially, though not to the expectations of the potential. We have set new target of 5 trillion Japanese yen for 2022-2027 period on successful accomplishment of the previous target of 3.5 trillion yen, which completed in 2019. Next trend-setting example would, I believe, will be Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail. There are 11 Japanese industrial townships. There are gyms and JECs. And post COVID pandemic, we have, worked with Australia or joined Australia to have the supply chain resilience initiative to take care of or diversify the supply chains and limit the dependence on single source. Coming to the Act East Forum in particular, one of the recent and now a proactive platform in the context of this conclave is India-Japan Actis Forum, which was established by Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Abe in 2017 to coordinate joint efforts for the overall development of the Northeast region and to enhance connectivity between our Northeast region and Southeast Asia and Bangladesh. It is now linked to Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, IPOI, that was announced by PM Modi, in which Japan is the lead partner in the connectivity pillar, and also to the new version of Free and Open Indo-Pacific, FOIP, of Japan, which was announced by Prime Minister Kishida during his last visit to India. And there he had talked about Northeast in particular and Bay of Bengal, or the connectivity to Bangladesh. The way forward will be in tapping the potentials such as connectivity to the neighboring countries and the trilateral cooperation. You heard about Actis Forum from the ambassador yesterday, so I will skip the details. But I would like to draw your attention to few important factors. That almost every activity today involves multiple stakeholders and multiple domains. This could be G2G, that is the government to government, or it could be B2G or G2B, and also B2B. Even within the government, there are multiple ministries and departments involved, and for smooth progress of any project, taking everyone on board from day one will help the most.
May I request you 1 minute, please?
Okay. We could reach the current level of coordination in Actis Forum from, after this long 3 to 4 years period. And not that all issues have been resolved, but it has certainly helped in coordination and solution finding approach. Important points are authorized and duly accepted single nodal point of one or more stakeholders. In the case of Actis Forum, it's Embassy of Japan and Ministry of External Affairs. Taking on board all the stakeholders through information sharing and inputs gathering in transparent manner. G2G and B2B lines to be kept clearly defined. And the overlapping is facilitated wherever and whenever required, again in transparent manner and through established mechanisms. And finally, leaving as much as possible to those who can deliver the best. That is, for example, private sector doing the private business in their own way. Today, all the Japanese cooperation-based projects are reviewed under Actis Forum. And I very often talk about some things like Nemawashi and maybe the Ringi show. These are the two concepts which are common between India and Japan, and I believe it should be there in Bangladesh also in the same way. These are the paperwork or the groundwork to be done in the private sector or in the government sector. The only difference could be minor modifications or minor variations, and these should be left best to the country concerned. For the third country cooperation, successful bilateral cooperation in the respective pairs, that is India-Japan, Bangladesh-Japan, and India-Bangladesh, and more coordinated trilateral projects are very important for addressing the pain points from the beginning. Expansion or replication of bilateral cooperation as trilateral projects could be the next step. And yesterday, my colleague from MEA talked about the triangle. I would say that in no business, you will find the equal partners, 50-50 or 33-33-33. Therefore, probably we need to clearly list the consent, roles, and contribution of the three, which is very important. And if we consider the tangible and intangible factors, including the future expectations, also into account, it could possibly bring the relationship closer to equivalent triangle and equilateral triangle. And one factor is the language, which probably was not talked yesterday or today. I believe it's very important for any success story between India and Japan, between Bangladesh and Japan, or between any trilateral project. An interaction involving different stakeholders from all sides, the way it has been done in this conclave, are very important to understand the complexities from different angles. And last, about the your second point, sir, the bamboo. We have a bamboo initiative where the integrated value chain is being studied, and we look forward to the private sector to take it forward. Regarding incentives, we have initiated a project called JIT, Japan Industrial Township, in Assam. Private sector, I believe, will be more motivated now because of the deliberations which happened yesterday and day before, yesterday and today. And I think this may probably find some ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very substantive intervention. Appreciate that. Of course, Japan is a vast subject. May I now come to Professor Shahidul Haq, Bangladesh Chair Professor, Delhi University and former Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh, to kindly take 5 minutes for your intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I will try and make my points in two parts. One is the process-centric, the other is the topic-centric or subject-centric. It looks like there's a renewed interest in creating a common space in this region. And it's pretty clear, visible, not only in this forum, but also multiple forums. So that's one reality. And we can assume that's there. The other one is that, then how do you link this particular initiative with the other similar initiatives that's going around? Or we would like to keep it standalone? I'm in favor of linking these initiatives with other initiatives for a multiple reason. One is to make it sustainable. If you link it with some other similar initiatives, fulfilling the similar purpose. And one that has been discussed this morning about the Sussex. Although I have a very limited faith on Sussex because it is primarily a technical forum run by international organizations. It has some political support, but not much. Although in the beginning it was. I stand to be corrected. So the similar kind of a forum that's left out is, as I see in the discussions, that ACT East Forum. Now, that's a forum between Japan and India. Naturally, it has own rational mandate and rest of it, but there's always a scope if the two countries agree to also then invite Bangladesh, initially as an observer, and then depending on how interests and priorities converge, do something else. So that's one. Now, I know that a forum meeting is coming, so I'm little aggressive, I'll use the word. You might wish to invite China and India, Bangladesh, foreign as an observer. So they come, they sit and they see how the dynamics works. And if there are closed door meetings, you might ask them to stay outside on the first day and spend then half a day to see where is the convergence between that forum and the one that we are talking about, creating a trilateral dialogue, and see how it evolves. So that's one to my response to Ambassador Bhatia's earlier as to how we keep it going. Now, the second point that I would like to sort of focus, that where is the space for people in these initiatives? Should we expand this scope? Now, people is a very vague term. Are these people in the name of stakeholders or real people? So that's something I think we need to bring in, otherwise these kinds of initiatives will continue to fail. Now, the other forum in terms of process is that there has to be a policy support from all the three countries to sustain these kinds of initiatives, linking in many ways the region. Now, the policy support by individual countries should also be well coordinated, and coherence should be drawn so that all the three countries are actually acting for a common purpose, not cross-purpose policy decisions. Sometimes it happens within the government. So that's the last in terms of process, and that's how I think we can sustain it without creating another institutional infrastructure. In terms of sectors or product, I have debated, and I think one area that would serve multiple purposes, management of water. If we start collaborating between Bangladesh and Northeast region, mostly origin of the fresh water, and with the presence of with the Japan, it could become a very good area for confidence building to start with, because that's where most of the problem is. So, if you can prove to the people that this is for betterment or for well-being of the people through water management, and water management has evolved in many ways. I'm not talking about water sharing. I'm talking about common water management. I'm not even talking about the basin at this stage. So that's one area. Second is, I think, education and skill, where all of us tremendously lack. And I'm sure there will be a lot of interest and convergence in terms of interest and purpose. And Japan could bring in all kinds of support to that initiative. So that's the second sector. The third is the industry that we are talking about. But what kind of an industry? I suggest SMEs and mid-level industries to begin with, instead of going into a big industry, because big industry often threatens local people. And we know the history in West Bengal. So start with the SME, where people can see that, yes, they can participate and it is their business. So that's my way of looking at things. And the last, in terms of product, let's invest in people. We continue to say that we need people's capacity, people's ability, people's openness. Let's invest to make sure that people are with the development. So that's the last one. I will conclude, sir, with one sentence, and that might not be seen as a very wise conclusion, but I will nevertheless share. I think the border that we have in this region is gradually becoming irrelevant. And this border was imposed on us by our colonial masters with a specific purpose. That purpose is also, I think, gradually fizzling out. I'm not talking about boundaries. Boundaries are political realities. It will remain to be seen. I'm asking everybody to look at Europe. They have boundaries, but they don't have borders. They have borders, but that's managed different way. So the amount of resources, the amount of attention that we give to maintaining this couple of kilometers of border, if that investment goes to the community, I think it will be more productive and more peaceful. I know it's too early for us, but I'm sure our next generation will get rid of border, but continue to keep our boundaries, which is political realities, to make this region more peaceful and more integrated. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shahid Bhai. Appreciate that, especially the last point. You are a visionary, you're looking into the future, and we hope that someday we'll move into that direction. Last speaker, Shri Swadesh Roy, a well-known journalist from Bangladesh. He will take 5 minutes to present his remarks.
Thank you. Bangladesh and Northeast India is now a different era compared last 13 to 14 years. In Northeast India, there is tremendous change in infrastructure, even their mindset. The people of the new generation, and they are left behind the separatist mindset. Now they are thinking on nation India. On the other hand, and in Bangladesh, it is a faster growing economy, and they have connected rail, road, and seaport towards this zone, and it has been situated by this as the last 10 to 13 years. It has happened, but in my opinion, that now the Japan and is here as a development partner. It is the second phase or the new phase as to build up in Northeast Indian region and Bangladesh as a partnership development. Japan is the very trusty friend and of Bangladesh from the very beginning, and we can understood that in this sandwich region, Northeast India, by the three countries, when India allowed Japan to invest here as a development partner, then there is no need to express how the Japan is tested to in India. So now Japanese investment and will be the new will create a new phase from the between Bangladesh and Northeast India, and we have already set up railroad and the rail and road, but Northeast India wants always used to our Bangladeshi seaport. They are already using Chittagong seaport, and after the rail link of Padda Bridge, the Mongla and Paira port will be the another phase, but the biggest phase will be start after 2027, that the completion of Matarbari deep seaport, but these all seaports are in the Bay of Bengal. In the present political situation, and to operate or to use the fully this seaport, or the first thing need a peaceful Bay of Bengal, and in this context, peaceful Bay of Bengal is depend on peaceful Indo-Pacific zone, and for this Indian Ocean region, Bangladesh position is very clear. Our Prime Minister said on 2019 in 2029 that 35% people live by the side of the Indian Ocean region, so we need a peaceful Indian Ocean region. But now it is Indo-Pacific Ocean, and the peaceful Indo-Pacific Ocean, for this peaceful Indo-Pacific Ocean, and Japan is the main creator of Quad, and India also. So we are now seeing that Quad is trying to accommodate more countries in their alliance, and to accommodating more country in the Quad, they have to create that situation that the new power in Asia,
Can you please,
China,
Mr. Roy, can you please conclude now? Because we,
just
can you
1
just
minute.
conclude it, please?
They become rational regarding South China Sea and Indo-Pacific, and that will make the Indo-Pacific Ocean peaceful, and that will make the Bengal peaceful, and then Matarbari seaport will be ultimate at a new era.
Thank you.
And besides that, one thing I want to add just for 1 minute. We want basically Northeast Indian region and Bangladesh relation, but as a journalist, I have seen that we are building many economic aspects, but we are not trying to change the mindset of the people. The Northeast Indian people think that Bangladesh is a Muslim country. On the other hand, in Bangladesh, is still anti-Indian sentiment is countable. So the politicians and the policymakers and the social media and the mainstream media, they has to change this mindset, and after changing this mindset,
Mr. Roy, may I now request you to please conclude? Thank you very much. I really appreciate you have a lot of things to share with us, and we value them. Thank you for your participation. Minister is here. We now have to proceed to the next one. Dear friends, I'm afraid there is no time for question answer, but I would like to take exactly 45 seconds to bring out three major ideas which have been put forward by this very eminent panel. The first idea is to recognize the reality that in the foreseeable future, the road to Myanmar is in jeopardy, and therefore the sea route becomes even more important, and therefore what we have been talking, and Mr. Roy is talking about Matarbari port and the coastal connectivity becomes even more important than in the past. I think we also have to recognize the second point, which has been fully endorsed by this panel, which is that Northeast needs both connectivity and industrialization. One needs the other. It cannot stand in isolation. And the third point, which has come out very loudly from this conference, is that there is an urgent need for a trilateral cooperation communication channel. Whatever form it takes, trilateral cooperation is being discussed here in track 2. It's probably time for track 1 people to see whether there can be a channel which probably can be called, to take a little bit away from what Japanese ambassador said, Big B, we can talk about BIJ, Bangladesh, India, Japan communication channel. Thank you very much. I request you to applaud our panel with a very loud round of applause. Thank you. And thank you, panelists.
Thank you so much, our honorable guest on the dais. Our sessions ends here. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable His Excellency Khalid Mohammad Chaudhry, Minister of Shipping Bangladesh, is amongst us. So we welcome you to this conclave. Now may I request Executive Director, Asian Confluence, Mr. Sabyasachi Datta sir, to please come on the stage and welcome our honorable guest.
তিনটে চেয়ার থাকবে thing is ready. Where is it? Where's the frame? A very, very good afternoon. What a stimulating round of sessions over the last, since morning today. We had a wonderful interaction in the round table and a wonderful panel actually chaired by our governing council member, esteemed Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia. That was a fantastic panel. And now I have the great pleasure to inform you that the Honorable Minister of Shipping, Bangladesh, is amongst us. His Excellency Khalid Mohammad Chaudhry. He's driven all the way from Dhaka and has come for this and will be just going back immediately after lunch. So, sir, we really, really appreciate you taking this effort to come here all the way to attend this conference and deliver the valedictory address. May I call upon my colleagues to escort His Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Bangladesh, Minister of Shipping, His Excellency Khalid Mohammad Chaudhry, with a wide round of applause, gentlemen. May I also request our honorable member of the Governing Council and the former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das, to kindly come on stage and felicitate the Honorable Minister and welcome him. And now may I request the Honorable Minister, His Excellency Khalid Mohammad Chaudhry. Sir, you have the, so we kindly request you to please come and deliver the valedictory remarks.
Thank you. My greetings and pranam to His Excellency Ambassador Deepak Gopalnal Wadar, His Excellency Mustafizur Rahman, Bangladesh High Commissioner to India, His Excellency Ambassador Hiroshi Suzuki, Ambassador of Japan to India, Masida Tasaswa, Deputy Chief of Mission of Japan, Bangladesh, Edmund Greeting, Country Director, Asian Development Bank, Bangladesh, Professor Saidul Haq, Bangladesh Chair, Professor, Delhi University, Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das, Member Governing Council, Asian Confluence, Shabba Shati Datta, Executive Director, Asian Confluence, and all esteemed guests present here on this spacious day. I am grateful to Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das. I have solicited for the warm invitation and extension to her hard-roll support whenever we need it. I am delighted to be here in Agartala to become a part of the dialogue on connectivity, partnership and investment. The relation between Bangladesh and India are important and have a strong history basis. The prospect for this relation to grow in strengthen are needed enormous if they are pursued for mutual benefit and with mutual respect. Our geographical proximity, cultural affinity, and shared history should form the parameters of our relation. Respected guests, Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh Sheikh Hasina visited India in last September 2002 agreement on the use of Chittagong Mongla port for movement of goods to and from India has been signed between Bangladesh and India. Under this agreement, the two trial runs were executed. This route is going to be a full operational on time. Chittagong Port Authority has all the necessary capacity to handle the goods in the full swing. An agreement was signed, Protocol of Inland Water Transit and Trade for transportation of goods from West Bengal to India, 7 states of eastern India using the land of Bangladesh. Moreover, coastal shipping agreement was signed for the transportation of goods from India to eastern state by coastal sea and river for the promotion to free and regional trade through the river. The BBIN agreement was signed among India, Bangladesh, Bhutan and Nepal. The aim of objective of those agreements is to ensure fair regional transportation among the connecting countries, ensuring their own commercial interests. Excellency, joint statement during the visit, Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh of India, September 2022, it was started that recognize the peaceful management of India-Bangladesh border is a shared priority. The leaders directed the official of expedite work to complete all pending developmental work within 150 yards of the zero line, including fencing starting with the Tripura sector with the objective of maintaining and triangle and calm-free border. It was agreed upon by the highest political leadership of two countries that land development and infrastructure built up will be allowed within 150 years of zero line of border to facilitate cross-border trade, cargo passenger management, and export-import. Out of 24 declared land port of Bangladesh, 9 are located with this Northeast India region, which indicate the ongoing movement of goods between the border. Ladies and gentlemen, Bangladesh and Japan have historically been strong bonded nation. The relationship between Bangladeshi and Japanese people is countries old. Japan is also significant source of development aid to Bangladesh. One of the first countries to recognize Bangladesh, Japan has signed, then become Bangladesh's largest bilateral development partner. In a BBC World poll, 71% of Bangladesh has a favorable view of Japan, making Bangladesh one of the most pro-Japanese countries in the world. I hope that the Japanese investment in the region will indirectly benefit Bangladesh as well as the socio-economic development of the region. Last but not least, I thank the people who worked resolutely to make this conclave and grand success. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu, long live Bangladesh, India, Japan friendship. Thank you.
Thank you so much, His Excellency Khalid Muhammad Chaudhry, Honorable Minister of Shipping, Bangladesh, for sharing your valuable words with us and addressing this august gathering. Thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will move on to our next session, which will be a valedictory session. Esteemed dignitaries from India, Japan and Bangladesh, we will now move on to our next session, the valedictory session. And for this valedictory session, I would like to request our panelist on the dais, His Excellency Mr. Muhammad Mustafizur Rahman, Bangladesh High Commissioner to India, on the stage. His Excellency Ambassador Hiroshi Suzuki, Honorable Ambassador of Japan to India, on the stage. And I would also like to request Her Excellency Ambassador Deepa Gopalan Wadhwa Madam, Honorable Member Governing Council, Asian Confluence, to chair this session.
Before we start the session, Madam Chair, I just wanted to inform this gathering that I just got a call from Madam Smita Pant, who is the Joint Secretary BM in the Ministry of External Affairs. She was actually supposed to be here physically yesterday. She couldn't, and she said she would be here online for this session. Something very pressing has come up, so she's not going to be able to. She sends her greetings and wishes, and I think they are watching this also, this session online actually. So yeah. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sabya. we certainly will miss Smita Pant's presence over here, because I think that will be the voice of the Government of India. And I have on two sides of me the High Commissioner of Bangladesh to New Delhi and Ambassador Suzuki, who in many ways made this entire event happen. With his enthusiasm. It was an initiative that came from him, where we will hear the points of view of I think the government's concerned, which are also very important to make this whole process work. Because as we heard that for whether it was connectivity or for investment and industry, there has to be a good conversation between all the governments concerned. Now, what I will try to do is, I'll just try to very briefly mention some of the ideas that have been thrown up over these, yesterday and today, these two sessions. It's been extremely, I think, useful and valuable for all of us. So much has happened in these, I don't know how many hours it is, I think 2 sessions last night and today. And the enthusiasm, I think, has been terribly, in a way, it's been infectious. And people, as we proceed, did seem to come up with more and more ideas. Before I start, I would like to really thank the Honorable Minister of Shipping of Bangladesh, Sir Khalid Mohammad Chaudhry. Thank you so much for coming here, sir. Coming all the way for this session just sort of, I think, raises the whole prestige and the importance of this conference that we have here. Thank you very much for being here and for your words. And let me just briefly go over some of the points that I think that have been raised in the last 2 days. First of all, the importance of the Bay of Bengal in the free and open Indo-Pacific, or in this region, as one would like it. I think there has been no question of the geo-economic importance and the strategic importance of this region. And the ultimate objective, I think, of all of us is peace and prosperity. And in this, there are huge opportunities for India and Bangladesh. We are the primary beneficiaries, but also to have a trusted partner in Japan who would partner to us in ensuring that we can reach our national objectives that we have. Some of the ideas that were thrown up in the course of these 2 days, which struck me, I'm sure there are a lot more, and pardon me if I leave out somebody's ideas or some other thoughts, because I heard Ajay Sethi saying in the morning session that he chaired so wonderfully that each person here should become an ambassador of an idea. So there have been a lot of ideas. I'm just picking and choosing a few that really struck me. One was the use of the word land-linked instead of landlocked, to say that we are all together in this, and I think there is benefits to us and that we work together. So I think link is a much more positive thought than to have something which is locked or limited. The other thing, idea we take is the win-win-win, mentioned by Ambassador Suzuki. We had a 4th win added to it in the morning session by the ADB representative from Dhaka, which said get people involved. So it is India, Bangladesh, Japan, and of course our people as the 4th angle to this win-win situation. The other idea that I think I took away from this was that there's broad agreement on the benefits of a triangular relationship. A triangular relationship or a trilateral relationship, I think everybody's agreed that perhaps the time is due now for this a trilateral relationship. We had, in fact, Joint Secretary Sumit Se talk about the mini-laterals, or the smaller groupings that we have and how effective they are. There are several such groupings that we have with Japan. There is a possibility that we talk about this in the context of Bangladesh, but of course this is all left really to our governments. We are just here to speculate, and as a retired government official, I think I'm kind of free to talk about such issues without really looking over my shoulder for clearance. The other issue that we all talked about, I think Sumit Seth reminded us, is of the 5 C's, which connect all of us. And here this also connects Japan, incidentally, which is civilization. We heard of the civilizational links. Mr. Chawla spoke to us. The civilizational links between India and Japan. the cultural links of our region are well known to us. There's civilization, there's culture, connectivity, commerce, and community. And I think one interesting one that was added to this was complexity. And I think we've also found we were told of the way forward to handle this complexity, which was really to be able to continue conversations and to allay whatever fears there are. And these conversations help us to allay our fears. So I think that was a very valuable suggestion that came in the course of our days of deliberation. The way forward, the last session was extremely interesting and it's very fresh in our minds. I won't go over it, but I think two ideas which were important. One was the importance of coordination for all the stakeholders, and particularly I think the governments concerned, the institutionalized mechanisms that are there to work together. I think this was mentioned by several people. And in the context of the Secretary NEC, Mr. Moses Chella had talked about, the importance of really of coordination and then to look at KPIs and look what the challenges are and then see what can we do about them. So coordination is not a mechanism that is really meant to look at problems that are there, but to see how do we resolve these problems and challenges they're going to be. We're right at the beginning of a process here. The other, I think, important and very practical advice came from Professor Ashok Chawla on how to carry all the stakeholders. He talked about G2G, talked about G2B, he talked about the need for transparency and that they should have established mechanisms in which everybody can participate. So there have been a lot of takeaways. Of course, ultimately, as was summed up by, in the last session by Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia, I think what we recognized was that we all do need connectivity and we also need industrial development in this area and trilateral cooperation. So with these few words, I'm just doing a short recap, but I think more important than what I've had to say is to hear what His Excellency, the High Commissioner of Bangladesh to India, his views, and we will give the last word to you, Ambassador Suzuki. So first, I will start with High Commissioner.
Thank you, Ambassador Wada. Honorable Minister for State for. Can you hear me? Yes. Honorable Minister of State for Shipping of the Government of Bangladesh, Mr. Khalid Mahmood Chaudhuri, Executive Director of the Asian Confluence, Mr. Shobhashachi Dutt, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon to you all. First of all, I would like to convey my sincere appreciation to the Asian Confluence for organizing this timely dialogue here in Agartala. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last few sessions, yesterday and today, a lot has been said on the connectivity, integration of the Northeast India, Bangladesh, and the Bay of Bengal, and its opportunities and challenges. And this has been a very rich discussions, and I have been personally greatly benefited from the presentations and comments of the learned speakers. And it has indeed been an intellectually rewarding exercise for me. Now, it has already been said that Bangladesh is uniquely poised to play a critical role in furthering regional integration for trade and commerce and broadly for economic development. And it is known that Bangladesh offers a broader nexus between the Indian mainland and the Northeast. More broadly, Bangladesh is a natural link between South Asia and the Southeast Asia. We need to explore and exploit the opportunities that this geographical proximity and contiguity offers us. Improved connectivity can indeed contribute to ensuring shared prosperity of our region. our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said, connectivity is productivity. I cannot agree more that seamless connectivity between Bangladesh and India, in particular with the Northeast India, can bring a substantial change in the entire geoeconomy of this region. And both our governments have taken and is taking resolute actions in this direction. We are making steady progress. Surely we have a long way to go. Recently, Honorable Minister also mentioned we have decided to offer our two main ports, Chittagong ports and the Mongla ports, to be used for India and particularly for the Northeast India. This presents a lot of exciting prospects for the whole region. A couple of issues I would like to highlight here, and these are the takes from my participation in 2 days of this dialogue, and also my own conviction. First is people. I think it has been said over and over again. People should be at the heart and the center of development initiatives, including connectivity exercise. Movement of only goods, not people, will make connectivity incomplete. Secondly, the mode of connectivity or means of connectivity. We talk a lot about physical connectivity. There are, apart from physical connectivity, other modes of connectivity is also very important and we need to really explore. Digital connectivity is one I can mention here. It can indeed facilitate conventional trade and ratchet up economic growth. For making available high quality and high speed internet access, Bangladesh is providing additional international bandwidth to the Northeast region. This will help reduce the latency and congestion in internet traffic to and from the region. Third is complementarity. You see, for trade and commerce to foster, there should be complementarity in the value chain. It has to be beneficial to all concerned. As the industrialization in Bangladesh is picking up steam, there is a high demand of raw materials like minerals and other natural resources which are found in Northeast India. On the other side, these states can import finished goods like cement, plastic household goods, ready-made clothing, processed food and soft beverages from Bangladesh at a very competitive cost. This could make a more compelling case for increased trade and between Bangladesh and the Northeast. And fourth, investment. We all know investment is a key driver to advance trade and commerce. Taking advantage of improved connectivity, better infrastructure and competitive wages, I think Indian investors can set up big industries in Bangladesh and then can export the products to the Northeast and even to the Southeast Asia. We have offered 2 special economic zones dedicated for Indians, namely Mongla and Mircharai in this regard. Fifth is like a peaceful coexistence. Nobody can doubt that a stable, strong, and friendly neighborhood is a blessing for any country, be it big or small. We happily note that due to our government's proactive initiatives, the Northeast region is now enjoying the benefits of continued development, peace, and prosperity. And now coming to the involvement of Japan, and you have heard many times saying that Japan is one of our largest and long-standing development partner. It is also a very trusted development partner. And I heard saying that we, India and Bangladesh, are the 2 largest recipients of Japanese ODA. So this is really very encouraging. We appreciate Japanese involvement in Bangladesh's development projects. Matarapari has been highlighted many times here, but other equally important projects are like metro rail and the 3rd terminal of Hazrat Shah Jalan International Airport. I was glad to hear my good friend Ambassador Suzuki elaborating the Japanese vision to foster connectivity in the region yesterday and also today for the benefit of trade and commerce. The Japanese vision of jointly developing the Northeast India and Bangladesh to create an industrial value chain, as is said, in this region. Its intention to make Bangladesh as an industrial hub, a manufacturing hub, and to bring in synergy between the projects, Japanese projects in Bangladesh and in the Northeast. So these are very welcome developments. As you heard, Japan and India have already set up the Act East Policy, Act East Forum to collaborate in Northeast Asia, and my friend Ambassador Suzuki is co-chairing that. So Japan is investing in the sub-region to ensure improved connectivity, opening up trade corridors and driving better economic benefits. It also fits into the neighborhood first policy of the Indian government. For Bangladesh also, Japan is currently working with Bangladesh, conducting joint study to, for economic partnership in the context of post-graduation from the LDC group. As you know, the Bangladesh will graduate out from the LDC group soon, I think to be specific in 2026. So it will surely bring some challenges to us, and particularly during the transition period. And Japan is offering to help us to during this difficult times and to smoothen the transition period. So I see a lot of complementarities, a lot of synergies, a lot of potentials in all these initiatives. And so these are very good developments. So I would conclude here, and we are, to conclude, we are supportive of any collaborative effort which will be beneficial to Bangladesh's development aspirations. And from that vantage point, we look at this emerging triangular cooperation involving Bangladesh, Japan, and India. So we hope we will be successful in our common endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, High Commissioner. I thank you very much. I think this is the reassurance of the commitment of the government of Bangladesh. And I think two important points again, the centrality of people. Lots of people spoke about this. The people of our region, and I think this is so important to democracies, and we all three are very important, thriving democracies, and therefore the role of the people is very important. And I think the other point that you mentioned is the complementarity of value chains as we talk about new value chains. With this, I give it over to Your Excellency, Ambassador Suzuki. Sir, your words, please. Maybe that one.
Thank you very much, Deepa. First of all, I would like to thank Your Excellency Khalid Mohammed Chaudhry, Minister of Shipping, for joining us all the way from Bangladesh. We're very much honored that you grace us with your presence this morning. Thank you very much. I thank my good friend. Actually, we are batchmates. We presented our credentials on the same day, so I thank you very much for your great contribution. That you completed the picture from the Bangladesh side. So thank you very much. I learned a lot. And lastly but not least, Deepa, thank you very much for summing up so beautifully and to the point some of the salient points of our discussion over the last 2 days. I fully agree that land-linked is a better characterization of areas to refer to than landlocked. And win-win-win and win, we have to get people involved. So fourth win is as important as first, second, and third win. Of course, the importance of coordination, cooperation among the three countries of India, Bangladesh, Japan is, it goes without mentioning. And of course, 5 C's, or the 6 C's, is, those are rule of thumbs for some of the guiding posts to lead us into the future. Now, so thank you very much for your brilliant summing up. Now, this session concludes this intellectual part of our conclave, and I think many of the participants this afternoon will be heading to see what's happening on the ground with their own eyes. I myself will go to Kwai because JICA is undertaking a wonderful project there. And at the same time, I realized that many people are going to Sabroom to see what's happening there in terms of cross-border facilities. Cross-border custom is so important. So this is one of the challenges that we have to address. But seeing is believing. So it's important to visit those key areas early on. So hopefully sometime in the future, I would like everybody here to go visit the Matabari port. I myself would like to find an opportune time in the future to visit there myself, because in my view, this Matabari port will be the game changer. It will give us so much leverage, so much impetus to create this new industrial value chain, not just connectivity, but new industrial value chain, which will bring in more investments and generate so many more employment opportunities. So I am so excited that through our discussions yesterday and today, I think we all shared our objective of, that's the mountaintop that we're going to climb together. Of course, our positions are different. Some of us, including myself, are in the government. Some of you are coming from business, and investment is the key. And of course, we have people from think tanks and academia. So we look to you for continued intellectual input. This will be an undertaking for over the next decade. I mean, yesterday I said Southern Economic Corridor in Mekong took 30 years. But today you can see the results, from Bangkok to Phnom Penh to Ho Chi Minh City. Now, we can do better because we have the example already, so we can learn from that example. So let's try to shorten the time frame for this new industrial value chain, which includes Northeast area, Bangladesh, and West Bengal. This entire region I want to see become one big area with common industrial value chain. Now, as I keep repeating, in order to make this happen, investment is the key. So JICA is actually planning a cross-border value chain. JICA is planning to commence a new study, new survey on cross-border value chain, both on India's northeast and also in Bangladesh. And since I'm based in Delhi, we are requesting authorization to MEA, and we are at the point of waiting for authorization for this study to go ahead. So, this JICA study on cross-border value chain, when it is complete, I hope this will give more clear picture of what kind of investment opportunities there are, because when you're in the shoes of business leaders, business has to win, right? So I want this JICA study to present in a more cohesive way, in a more comprehensive and more clearly understandable way, that yes, indeed, there is reason to invest in Northeast. And so next time, I hope to have more participation of businessmen based in Bangladesh. As Mr. Suzuki of JICA was mentioning this morning in our session, I think because of the proximity, businessmen in Bangladesh is more aware of various business opportunities, potentials that lie in this area. So all in all, I am so excited with what we have achieved in the last 2 days. And looking into the future, there will be high-level meetings. First, starting with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina visiting Japan at the end of this month. So it will be happening in the coming couple of weeks. And since it will happen right after Prime Minister Kishida's visit to New Delhi, when he announced his new plan for the free and open Indo-Pacific, I hope that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visit will give a new political impetus on promoting this whole new industrial value chain to be created in this greater Bay of Bengal area. Now, looking ahead, Prime Minister Modi will be traveling to Hiroshima in mid-May to take part in the outreach session of the G7 summit, where Prime Minister Modi will be able to express, say, in his own words, the priority agenda for the G20. But I'm hoping that the Prime Minister Kishida and Prime Minister Modi will be able to have a bilateral on the margins to take stock of the progress being made. I know it's a short span of time, but I want to put this endeavor to be high on the agenda, because I want, since Prime Minister Kishida himself mentioned the importance of this undertaking as one of the major pillars of his new plan for the free and open Indo-Pacific. Now, further into the future, in September, Prime Minister Kishida will be visiting New Delhi again for the G20 summit. So I hope that the two leaders will again be able to find a slot for a bilateral. I know it is extremely busy, particularly for Prime Minister Modi as the chair of G20, but I want to push for a bilateral, even it is for a short period of time. Because when the leaders meet, they generate so much political impetus. And we need political leadership, political impetus to guide us through into the future. Exactly because this is a long-term undertaking. So this is where I stand today. And finally, I will going to have Act East Forum with Foreign Secretary Quatra, and now we are closely working together to hammer out a concrete date. So at the concluding remarks of the last session, Ambassador Bhatia mentioned BIJ, B-I-J, Bangladesh, India, Japan. So I want to discuss with Professor Chawla and Secretary Quatra how this Act East Forum can also reach out to our stakeholders in Bangladesh. I know the importance, so let me work with my colleagues, Professor Chawla, for Secretary Quatra, to figure out what would be the best way. And of course, I'll be needing your guidance on this important topic. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Suzuki. I think everybody really needs to give a very loud round of applause to both the ambassadors on both sides of me. This brings us to the end of this valedictory session. I think now what is left for us is to say thank you to all of you, and I must say it is the presence of all these dignitaries and your presence which has kept this room completely full. I don't think that we've seen many seats empty today through the 3 sessions that we've had. So thank you from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As we come to an end of this valedictory session, I would like to request our Executive Director, Asian Confluence, Shri Sabyasachi Datta sir, to deliver the vote of thanks.
I don't want to stand between you and lunch, but this conclave would not be ending properly if we don't thank from the Asian Confluence each and every one of you who has made this a success. I think we had many wins, win for India, win for Bangladesh, win for Japan, win for businesses, win for people, win for a lot of minds here who have taken away a lot of good ideas, win for the academics, win for everybody. And also the C's. I think a big C that has happened in this room is connections. A lot of people have connected with each other, especially in this third dialogue we've had, which is the first of its kind in a physical format. The earlier two were in a virtual format. So we've had a lot of connections made. People have. So I hope you've had the chance to connect and make wins. On behalf of the Asian Confluence, it's my singular honor to thank each and every one of you. A very, very special thank you to you, sir, His Excellency Khalid Mohammed Chaudhry, sir, to coming all the way from Dhaka. I know you started off early and you're now having to go back. So wish you could stay with us for one more day, but we understand you have a busy schedule. Special thanks to the Ambassador Suzuki and the whole team at the Embassy of Japan for supporting this dialogue all the way from its inception, and we hope to take this forward. Special thanks to the Northeastern Council, the Secretary NEC is here amongst us for supporting this dialogue. I think the presence of the Minister and the Secretary here is telling. And of course, this also, all of this is not possible without the collaboration support of the Ministry of External Affairs, the Joint Secretary, PPNR Division, Dr. Sumit Seth, who helped us, Dr. Ashok Chawla, who has been a mentor to all of us throughout the process. And I would also mention Ms. Smita Pant in the BM Bangladesh Myanmar desk. We've had been a round of back and forth meetings so that we make this success. I hope that we can take this forward. Your Excellency, you mentioned a whole lineup of activities coming up through the rest of the year, and we hope that we'll have another intellectual conclave. When we have that next year, a lot of things would have happened. In the organization of the dialogue, I must thank our team, our stellar team at Asian Confluence, my colleagues Samita, Shabri, Shreya, Pradyut, Abhijit, the people at the hotel here, the travel desk, Rajiv. I cannot complete everybody's name, but I must say that this would not have possible without the stellar teamwork and particularly the communications with our partners in the Embassy of Japan. Orita-san has been a pillar of support. Sakai-san, we've been calling each other even in the middle of the nights, So thank you very much. Our friends in Bangladesh. I must also note the stellar support given to the dialogue by our High Commission in Dhaka for facilitating last-minute travel arrangements, visas, and of course all the liaison officers from the government of Tripura, the Assistant High Commission of Bangladesh here. Sir, your embassy and all the Assistant High Commissions have been a great support for us in organizing this dialogue. So together with all our partners, I take this opportunity to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I hope you'll have a little time to see the city, and of course I know that you have a busy thing to go back to Akhaura, so please enjoy the lunch. And if I've missed out somebody, please excuse me. Last but not the least, a special thanks to the team which made this report happen. Dr. Prabir Dey deserves a special mention, Dr. Salim Rehan from Sanem, and the team of Komal Biswal, Omar, Pradyut, Shreya. They've worked very, very hard, and the team at Sanem to make this happen. And of course, all of this has been guided by the governing council members of Asian Confluence and the team, Ambassador Wadhwa, Ambassador Ajib Bhatia, Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das, Mr. Ajay Sethi, and the members who have not joined, Dr. Mr. Rajat Nag, from he's here. I mean, all our members have supported this. So thank you very much, and enjoy your lunch and a good trip to the border.
Ladies and gentlemen, the third India